my dad's Gigi. Motherfucker fame, all my niggas lit it. Never to the face, I don't smoke no Philly. Drippin' sauce like I'm chilly. Set that milk to the floor when it's chilly. I got big booty bras at the telly. And end up from the store who was ready.
I can't fuck with none of y'all niggas, y'all disgust me. When you with your maggot ass friends, don't discuss me. Effing with a standing clip, I hope don't try to rush me. I hear him saying such and such a nigga ain't gon' touch me. Big body bench, remember I used to be dusty. Now I want my money, y'all hunters in a rush, please. I was selling weed when they came out with white tea. Now I put a whole half a ticket on my white tee. Whole hood popping other niggas, they don't like me. Made her eat it up, she told her friend he gon' wipe me. All my niggas thoroughbred, on foot cross street. Free all of the bros down the road and on Right Street.
Hit that fast thing speeding through the city. Panoramic brain in my dad's Gigi. Motherfucker fame, all my niggas lit it. Never to the face, I don't smoke no Philly. Drippin' sauce like I'm chilly. Set that milk to the floor when it's chilly. I got big booty bras at the telly. And end up from the store who was ready. Put some fine bitches in my jellies. 2 new glass tenants, these spaghettis. Ain't gon' bash you bitches, I ain't petty. Just know we fucking, we ain't going steady. I don't wanna sleep, I need more eddies. I ain't had no kid, but I'm a daddy. Let her shake her ass like it's magic. 20s in my pocket, look like cabbage. Carrots everywhere, I'm a rabbit. I ain't sure they low, what was that name? You was told to go, keep that cannon. I'm a fucking gold, I can't panic. Hit that fast thing speeding through the city. Panoramic brain in my dad's Digi. Motherfucker fame, all my niggas lit it. Never to the face, I don't smoke no Philly. Drippin' sauce like I'm chilly. Set that milk to the floor when it's chilly. I got big booty bras at the telly. And end up from the store who was ready.
Money and conversations, check my phone, sway. How about Dolce Gabbana, Chanel or mine?
Today, we're going to talk about the college basketball slate, conference championship lines for the weekends, and of course, the squad ride. This is Behind the Lines. Cooper Kupp might be washed. 4 targets, no catches. The guy ran a half a marathon. I've seen 20 tweets about it this morning. The guy didn't do a single thing.
Yeah, that was a frustrating bagel for a lot of fantasy owners.
Is this what we've become down in Blacksburg? Just complacent, happy to be going about our day and being a moose shit program, celebrating a kid getting 1 point against North Carolina A&T? He better fucking score a point. You're playing North Carolina A&T. He's leading college football, Jovan, in every single statistical category for a wide receiver. Every single one. And you don't give that guy the award? Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. At the end of the day, you got to reward teams for winning fucking games. And if they're in a power conference, they're in a power conference. I'm tired of this big dick swinging contest between the SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and ACC. At the end of the day, you got to fucking reward winning. What's going on, chat? Welcome to BTL Wednesday, episode 622 piece. As always, hold the fry, joined by your 2 hosts, Krabs and Jovan, presented by Bookit Sports. If you're not tracking your bets on Bookit, start tracking your bets today over there on Bookit Sports, the best bet tracking app out there by far on the App Store or Google Play. Jovan, happy Wednesday. How we doing?
Doing great. Up and moving, Krabs.
Sure. Rumor has it you've been labbing some soccer plays for this afternoon, some pitch cake.
Yeah, been
People
trying.
talking.
Don't love too much, but could always get up and moving on the pitch.
Okay. Well, let me know if you come across anything you love. And chat is already talking about SMU, moose.org. Can't believe I watched that game in person. I was gone before the second half started. Yeah, I'd be gone too. That game was a disgrace. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Before we do that, let's talk about some good stuff. How about the squad ride W last night? That's what I'm fucking talking about.
Worst game of all time. Grit it out, though.
Hook 'em. They came through. Let's fucking go, Gootsy. Texas ML, never in doubt. Sorry, Joshy. Sorry, Nick. Loving that Mizzou Tiger squad, but just had a weird feeling about that game.
Yep,
Okay,
had to be
W play. W Longhorns. All right, let's take a peep at the Sharp Report recap. Let's see how we did overall yesterday on all the plays. I went 3-2 yesterday. Jovan, you did much of the same.
Yep.
Great call on those 2 plays, though, top right sector. That over in the Iowa State game, that was probably the freest play on the boards, along with Ohio State outright. Keep the points.
Yeah, it was crazy. Nobody else wants to bet on Ohio State. It was just the perfect time to get them to get it together on the road against a really good team. And what do you know? They went outright, of course, because that's what they do.
Yep. When nobody wants Ohio State, they come through and everybody bets on them in sharp spots. They take our coins and they don't respect them. Shout out Elijah Hawkins for costing us a Sharp Report format.
Let's
get back in the lab today. Yeah. Hook. Brutal. Do we have a moment for me to bitch about something else before we get into the winners for today?
Of course.
Gutsy, run that shit. What are we doing fading the Louisville Cardinals, man? A team that we've been gassing up, screaming from the mountaintops before the season even started. The Louisville's back, and what do you know, Jovan? They're ranked. They go on the road to face off against an SMU team playing pretty darn well. And they destroy them. I mean, Chucky Hepburn had Boopy Miller in jail in that game, Jovan. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but it was tough to watch. Chucky Hepburn just taking Boopy's lunch money. The transfer from Wake Forest, who was a stud last year at times. Maybe the worst game I've ever seen from a point guard in college basketball this season. Boopy Miller missing layups left and right. Couldn't cover a parked car. You got Chucky Hepburn jacking up threes, wide open, cashing them. Didn't have a chance. We got Rain Smith dropping a 30-burg on our heads with an SMU ticket in our pockets. Not good. Brutal play. Shit play, some might call it. Can't be fading Louisville, man. They're so back. So back.
Can't be.
Oh, cannot be fading Pat Kelsey, man. Cannot be doing it. Shit. It was never back in SMU coming off that 120-point performance. Never. Ever. Brutal. Fuck the ponies, Godson to saying. I'm with you, man. Terrible bets. Terrible. Let's hope you have some better ones today. And hey, at least the squad ride cashed. Yeah. Right? That is true. All right. Let's hop in and talk about some winners for today. Let's jump right into it because I do want to go over some conference championship lines, Jovan. But before we do, let's dive in. Let's talk about our Sharp Report winners for today. Let's give the people our best bets that we're loving on the books. Straight bets we'll start out with, and then we'll get to the prize pick squares at the end here as well. I'll get it started out with a CBB wager, taking Xavier on the road against St. John's. Xavier's been red hot of late. They've ripped off 3 straight wins after they lost the game to St. John's a couple weeks ago. So they've already played this team once. St. John's got the better of them. They won by 10 at Xavier in that first matchup a couple weeks ago. Since that game, though, Jovan, Xavier's been on fire. They've ripped off 3 straight wins against DePaul, Villanova, and Marquette. St. John's, they've been taking care of business as well. They've been on fuego. The reason why they had such an edge in that first game on the road at Xavier, Jovan, is because they had the rebounding advantage. I mean, they just dominated on the boards. Am I expecting the same thing once again today? Probably not from St. John's, to be honest with you. I think Fremantle will be a little bit more active up and moving in the paint as well. And I'm thinking Xavier has a much better opportunity to keep this game close within the number. And we're getting blessed with a touchdown and the hook because of how they played against St. John's the last time they faced off 2 weeks ago. Well, this is a much different looking Xavier team since they faced off about 2 weeks ago. I want to ride the momentum from the Musketeers, and I want to fade St. John's at home with them being on a hot streak as well.
Yeah, you'll hear no issues from me, Krabs.
Yep. 0. No way the Caps won a plus 130, right? Yeah, nerfy Chad, the Caps, man. Don't fade them. Those sons of guns, they just win. They win games. Jovan, you got a straight bet for the peeps?
I do. Head over to good old Berkeley for an FSU Cal matchup. Classic ACC matchup, of course. Yep. Taking the over. And I'm hoping this is a repeat of what we saw in Iowa State last night. But Cal just played a really weird week of like road basketball where they went on the road to play the little NC State 2-piece, which in those 2 games were vastly different than I think you should expect or what you should expect from this game because they were super slow offensively. And a lot of it was because the defenses are not the strongest, I guess you could say, from UNC and NC State, but it's a lot less of what Cal wants to face because they like to take plenty of threes. They like to go pretty fast. Both of those teams, UNC more so in the paint, is a little undersized, and then NC State just has a decent lack of size across the court for the most part. So you're much better attacking both of those teams in the paint, which is not really Cal's strong suit, which is why they kind of sputtered in both those games. Even though they did beat NC State, they only did it with, I think, 64, 65 points. So that was a much, much slower game. FSU, I will say it again, they are a football team. They are super athletic. They don't love to shoot threes, even though Cal does have a really bad three-point defense. They're even worse when you get to the paint on them when you play in transition, and they turn the ball over plenty. So you're going to have plenty of fast breaks, which if you can give FSU fast breaks, they're going to score points. So I think their offense won't have much of a tough time, again, especially being they don't have to shoot to win this game and score points. But Cal, this is perfect because Cal wants to shoot plenty of threes. FSU is lights out at the rim because they have so much length and so much athleticism that they want you to shoot over the top of them, which is exactly what Cal wants to do. So I think a lot of the shooters for Cal, especially being that they're at home too, where just like I guess every team, they have good home shooting splits, but a lot of their shooters don't even attempt that, on the road a lot of the time. It's really weird. So when they get at home, they run, they shoot threes, they want to play faster. Feels like the perfect game where you'd want to do it against FSU. So I think this game, both teams are ending up in the 80s.
Let's hope it goes similarly to your over in CBB last night with Iowa State when they turned into the prime 2015, 2016 Warriors.
Hope so.
Okay? Yep. I'm with you. W Banana in chat, tail on the squad ride. Love to see it.
Dubs.
Yep. All right. Let's flip it back to my plays here. I like that over on the hardwood, Jovan. I've got a play that you might like as well. How about your Frogs? Getting 6.5 points tonight against big and bad Kansas. Well, on paper, this should be a blowout. So you got Kansas coming in, and they've lost a game recently. They've still won 4 of their last 5, and they're coming in off a win. But before that, they did drop a game. The Frogs, on the other hand, they've been pretty up and down so far this season. They've still won 3 of their last 5 games, though. They're coming off that big outright win against Baylor. Typically wouldn't like back in a squad coming off that big outright win, but in this spot, I cannot resist against Kansas, who has Dickinson, obviously, a big-time mismatch against the Frogs tonight. But, Jovan, I think Uday will be able to do enough in the paint with some help from Trezarian White as well, the UNC Wilmington transfer, who's got enough size to at least help out. And then you got Uday, who I'm sure you're very familiar with, the big man for the Frogs, who doesn't play, 30 minutes a game, but he plays enough. And people forget he came over from Kansas. This is a little revenge game for Ernest Uday. Yeah, people forget that. So if anybody can step up and at least, stunt the success for Hunter Dickinson, maybe it's Uday today against his former squads. I'll back the Frogs here, getting a handful of points at home, looking pretty good coming off that outright win in their last game. And I think Kansas is fadeable and beatable this season. I want to fade them once again.
Definitely agree with you on that. This game scares the piss out of me because I think I've picked out the game of conference play for the last 2 years correctly, where it's the biggest home game of the conference season, and they fall flat every time in pretty dramatic fashion. Last year it was Texas, and kind of feels like it's now. Students are getting excited. You got guys camping out. It's really the only big home game they have the rest of the year, or I guess really the entire year because they haven't had one. So coming off an outright win on the road against Baylor, where I think many people, including myself, thought they had absolutely zero shot to be competitive in that game. Yep. It seems a little too good to be true. I'm not going to lie, but I will be certainly rooting for you, Krabs.
Yeah, it's not the ideal spot, but I simply cannot resist Jovan backing Noah Reynolds and your TCU Frogs to keep this one within the number at home against big and bad Kansas.
Yeah, that'd be great. Probably going to need a Noah legacy game.
Okay.
Whenever they come through with whenever their offense doesn't look lost, it's only because he's hitting tough shots. So we're going to need that tonight.
Well, good thing he's a bucket getter.
Yes.
So he can stay healthy. We've got a couple W chats coming in here. I want to make sure we're not letting these slip through the cracks. We've got JJ Miles saying he's a Kansas fan. He'd rather have Uday than Hunter. I don't know about that, but hopefully tonight's, that mismatch is not too crazy. And we see Uday show some heart. I also saw
a legacy game against Baylor.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
He did. We got Dilly Daggers coming in saying, Krabs, I know Arkansas has stolen so much coin, but we're 0-5 in the SEC, and our starting point guard just got ruled out for the season, and somehow we're favorites against Georgia. Yep. Have to bet them today. Dilly Daggers did not deserve a spot on the Sharp Report for me, but it'll be on the cards, for better or for worse. Okay? Dubs. Jovan, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for the Frogs?
Thumbs in the middle.
Okay.
Be rude. I might tail just for the vibes.
Okay. I can work with that. All right, let's move. Let's see what second play you've got for your straight bet today. Go into Baylor. Speak of the Devils.
Yeah, speak of the Devils. Because that game against TCU was weird. I was like half tuning in because it was right during the Bills Ravens like start of the game or first half. So like I was keeping tabs and like I went back and watched a little bit of that game, the part that I wasn't able to fully tune in for. TCU did some strange things. It was like they brought up Uday out of the paint when Baylor was running like pick and roll. So like they created the illusion that there was an open lane there. Then they brought help defense from the sidelines, which was odd. They were just like running guards to the rim with whoever came off of that, and it worked, which was pretty interesting for a lot of the time. And then Baylor found something that I think is pretty important because that same strategy is exactly what Kansas State does to Baylor every single time they play. And now you get to face them again. They found something with the sets they ran out of that. They got Omier open a lot more in the post and at like the free throw line, and he was able to dominate for a good part of that second half. And then that got the rest of the shooters open with a lot more space. And even though Baylor lost the game, the offense started to look much better in the second half. It was really the defense and the fact that they couldn't control Uday that was really, really hurting them on the other side. This is why TCU won. But again, that what Kansas State has done to them the last couple times is exactly that. They kind of trap them and trap the guards into playing a lot of ISO ball and then running, rim running right off the pick and roll. It's exactly what they do. So now they found something in the last game off of those exact adjustments. I think this is a perfect time for them to have a little bounce back here. And I was a little surprised, not just that the team total obviously was high, but I was first looking at the total in the game, which I thought was pretty strange that we were not seeing 130s in this game. And it's I think 142, and it moved up to get there off of, Baylor. They still scored 71 points against TCU. Don't get me wrong, but their offense hasn't looked good for a couple weeks now. And you're playing a Kansas State defense that's held a majority of the offenses they've played in check, except for the ones that want to go a little faster on them and play more in transition, which I can only assume Baylor's going to want to do too. So I think this is a pretty solid bounce back spot for their offense, especially. Usually I would kind of lean more into defense for a Baylor K-State game like this, but I don't think it's going to be that story. Their games are either complete rock fights or it's 85-80. There's no real in between. So I feel like we're getting one of the latter, at least from Baylor.
I like the spot. Obviously, Baylor coming in off that terrible loss to the Frogs, and before that, they lost to Arizona as well. So they're going to be foaming at the mouth to bounce back with a big-time performance in at home, excuse me, against Kansas State, who's beaten them the last 3 times they played them outright. That's pretty crazy. I like that trend. Let's fade that trend. So let's back Baylor here at home, coming off that bad loss, taking their team total over with that total on the rise as well, up from 141 to 142. I'm in.
Sure.
I'm in. Goodsey, you want to swing it back around? Let's see what else we got cooking for the people today. Back in the Boise State Broncos, back in DeGen Harts, back in Coach Rice and Co. on the roads, coming off a loss, and they've actually lost 3 of their last 5 games. The Broncos not playing too great of late, and they're coming off a bad loss where they got beaten by 19, I believe. 19 W math against New Mexico in their last game. While that game was on the road, they get a pass. It's tough to win games against the Lobos on the road, plain and simple. Colorado State's a team who's been really good in years past. They had Isaiah Stevens, but this Colorado State team does not impress me much. Clifford's solid, but besides that, Jovan, I think they're kind of a shell of themselves compared to recent seasons when they've been really good. They've been ranked at times, been a wagon out west. I think this is the perfect time to fade them. I don't think they're that talented, and I think that line flip is pretty significant, seeing Boise State coming off a couple losses now as a favorite on the road against the Rams, who've won 4 of their last 5 games. I think Coach Rice and DeGenhart figure out a way to get a big-time win here on the roads, looking at that line flip, and I'll have my coins on the Broncos accordingly.
Yeah, I guess this year, looking at some home teams in that conference not getting the respect that we saw the last couple of years feels a little odd. Feels pretty telling there, Krabs.
Good. Yeah, I think we get a big-time win on the road here from the Broncos.
Sure. I'm in.
You got one more straight bet for the peeps?
I do. Taking Evansville plus 4.5.
Wow.
Potentially pull off an upset against UIC. But they're another one of like these the sneaky, I guess, analytical defense teams because they are okay with giving up layup lines for the most part, or not okay with giving up layup lines for the most part, and they will let you shoot over the top of them as much as you want. The problem with that, if you're UIC, is you get all of your points from inside the arc. You really try to run at the rim. That's a majority of what they do. They don't have many shooters. You can go through all of their games and conference games throughout this year. You're getting your 3-point volume from 2 guys maximum for a lot of these games. That's a problem because that's what's been burning Evansville. They got off to a super hot start and they've kind of cooled down since then, hit a little bit of a cold streak, and a lot of that has come from teams absolutely torching them from behind the arc because that's what they're willing to give up. I can only assume if you're playing a team that cannot shoot, you are going to continue that same strategy and give up any 3 you want. And if teams want to shoot over top of you on the road and you're not a 3-point shooting team and that's how you want to beat them, be my guest. So even though Evansville has been relatively moose the past couple games, I think it's not really an accident looking at some of the matchups and some of the better 3-point shooting teams. So I think UIC quite clearly does not fit that mold. So I think it's a disaster matchup for them, and they're going to have to be really taken out of their element offensively to comfortably win the game.
Doesn't hurt that they're 12-4 against the spread this season. They are 8-1 on the road against the spread this season and 9-1 in their last 10 against the spread on the road. Back the Evans of mid-major programs here. I know Evansville's been struggling of late, and UIC's actually had a pretty solid season so far, Jovan, but Evansville's up here. UIC is down here in between the 50 feet of shit, right? When you're looking at mid-major college basketball programs. This is Evansville we're talking about. This is one of the better mid-major programs in college basketball. Sure, they're off to a tough start this season, but I think you back them with the points at home and you fade UIC off this legacy stretch. How long could they keep it up? Probably not much longer.
One would hope.
All right. I'm in. Fade UIC back in Evansville at home, getting a handful of points. 2 words. Sign me up. I'm in.
There we go.
All right. We got some prize pick squares. Let's talk about them. Got a couple goats. I'm taking their points on prize picks, and chat, we'll see how this goes. I've smacked my last 4 prize pick squares on BTL, so let's stay hot. All right. Fremantle for Xavier. If Xavier wants to cover this game, I hate to be so simple and keep it so one-dimensional, but it's got to be with Fremantle staying involved on the offensive end and putting up at least a 20 bird for Xavier in this contest. Probably my favorite play today on the books is Xavier with the spread on the road with how good they've looked. They just look like a different ball club compared to when they played St. John's about 2 weeks ago since that last loss. They've just looked like a completely different squad. And Fremantle still leading the way offensively. I'll take his more than 16.5 points in a game where I'm seeing some points against St. John's here on the road. It's the only way Xavier keeps this one close.
Sure. Always in for some Fremantle.
Yep. And then I'm back into Genhart for Boise, stacking some of these prize pick squares with some of the matchups I like on the books, Jovan. Look, Colorado State, I know they're a tough team to fade, and they typically play some solid defense, at least at home, but who the hell do they have to cover to Genhart? A forward who can dribble like a guard and can hit the 3 ball, can get to the rack as well, can do a little bit of everything. He's like a Swiss Army knife. Nobody's got the size or physicality on this Colorado State team. If they put Clifford on him, he's not going to be able to keep up with DeGenhart. So I think this is a mismatch nightmare for Colorado State against the Broncos tonight. And you're going to see the Broncos' best player, Tyson DeGenhart, step up and carry this offense and probably drop a 20-piece himself. I'll take his more than 16 points for the Broncos tonight on the road against Colorado State.
Sure. Gladly. Love me some.
We got a subby coming in. Joey Too Lit coming in, resubbing for 17 months. Let's fucking go, Joey.
Let's go, Joey.
Attaboy. Man, Evansville's been through the Missouri Valley Gauntlet the last week, too, at Drake, UNI, and then Belmont. They played some good comp.
Great comp, which is why I think that granted, they're 6-13. I'm not going to sit up here and act like those are their only 3 losses of the season, but it's why I think those couple games are more the outlier than what they actually are.
Ooh, okay. Sure. Love it. All right, let's see what you're cooking up on prize picks today, Jovan. I got a good feeling about your squares. Ooh.
2 curries, and one of them happens to be Baby Peja, who, just like the rest of the Cal team and the Cal, I guess, offense more so, not really anywhere to be found on their little North Carolina road trip last week, and especially from 3. I mean, Stojakovic had a really tough time in both of those games. You know, he's a guy, Shout out SBR with 5 gifted subbers. Love that.
Let's fucking go, SBR. At a boy.
But yeah, he was nowhere to be found. He's a guy that has 19 and a half, 20 and a half point lines, and he combined for 16 in both of those games. And he also went 0 for 7 from 3. And he really hasn't found his stride from 3 the entirety of ACC play, because through the 6 ACC games that they've played so far, Krabs, you want to know how many times he's hit 2 threes?
0.
Which
Wow.
is why that chart today, not only is it a double bagel and pretty close to a quad bagel, but it's even further when you go beyond that to see how much he's somewhat struggled or just not shot from 3. This game is vastly different. And I guess both of these squares kind of go in the same realm as from talking Stojakovic and Ogbo, not just the way the charts look, but you have a team in Florida State that is giving up a lot of threes per game, 25.7 to be exact, which is 317th in all of college basketball. That's the second most in terms of the ACC. Only Wake Forest has given up more. And then Nebraska, who Ogbo is going to be facing, has given up 29.4 threes, which is by far the most in all of the Big Ten. And it's only the 7th most or 6th most in all of college basketball, period. So 2 really good matchups for both of these guys. Stojakovic is more, not so the volume shooter because he loves to get to the rim, but just like Cal wants to do, period. He's the one guy who actually is good at getting to the rim. He can shoot the hell out of the ball, and not just because of his last name. He's going to have plenty of chances to do that today against Florida State, especially being that it's going to be even tougher to get to the rim than it was against NC or UNC and NC State, which he was already having a tough time doing. So he's going to be spotting up quite a bit. That's what FSU gives up. Same goes for Ogbo. They're playing a Nebraska team. That same deal, gives up a ton of threes because they are so good at the rim, and it's a schematic thing, not just a big man in the paint thing, and just how good they are, how physical they are down there. And the difference, I guess, for USC is Cal has a bunch of shooters. USC really doesn't. This is their only real volume shooter guy from 3. So you can guarantee you there's going to be plenty of looks schemed up for him specifically. And he gets more of his volume share from 3 compared to just what he does on the offensive level. So this is his role in this offense. If you're playing a Nebraska team that, again, gives up the 6th most threes in college basketball, you got to scheme for your guy who is a fantastic shooter. He's been a little cold recently, hasn't had the best matchups. This is probably the best one he's going to get for the entirety of the season. So he's going off today. He's going to hit 3.
Wow. Well, I already locked in the Sharp Report 4-man with both those squares you just talked about, Stojakovic and Ogbo. I put the link in the Twitch chat as well. If you guys want to get involved, you should see it right up in there. W's and WSBR as well coming in with those subbies. We got Pusa623 coming in as well, subscribing with Prime. Love to see that. 9 months. Hype train moving and grooving, folks. We appreciate the subbies. We appreciate the comments and all the love. All right, let's keep moving and grooving, keep grinding. Jovan, loving both those squares. Let's hope Stojakovic turns into his pops tonight. Starts banging threes left and right.
That's probably, I would say, the weirdest square I've seen in all of college basketball this season.
Wow.
It's gonna happen.
You guys hear that? The weirdest square Jovan has seen in college basketball this season.
Has to be.
Well, let's hope he turns into pops. Stojakovic starts banging threes left and right like he's Curry. We'll see.
Just need 2.
We're not asking for the worlds. We're asking for 2.
While
we're not asking for 3, 4, 5, just 2.
While we're at it, while I see this comment, add Julius Pork to my card.
Okay.
After Trent's comment.
If you're betting Julius Pork tonight, delete your book.
Yeah, I'm betting Julius Pork now. It's the same thing you said about Ohio State yesterday, and they quite literally won outright as 10-point dogs. So let's continue it. Why don't we?
Wow. Julius Pork. I want to see what the odds are at on the books for him. -115 both ways. Okay. Good. OG Sauer's already got him in his 5-man. Damn. Locked.
OG Sauer locked.
Absolutely locked. Love to see it. All right. W Sharp Report, guys. We went over the straight bets. We went over the prize pick squares. Okay, we'll circle back towards the end. So go over some more of these plays when we go over these squad rides at the end of BTL. For now, I think maybe we talk about some of these conference championship weekend lines. Jovan, 2 games on Sunday this weekend. Obviously, only one that really matters, but we could talk about both of them. You've got the Commanders. Who would have thunk it, right? On the road at Philly. No chance they beat them, right? Philly almost beat the Commanders with their backup quarterback only a couple weeks ago. no chance the Commanders go in there and win this game, right? We'll see. We'll talk about that in a moment. Phillies -6, and the total in that game is at 47.5. Then you've got Buffalo on the roads at Kansas City. Jovan, I've seen this movie before, and it never works out the way that I want it to. The Chiefs always fucking win, but I didn't hear no bell. And you know what I'm going to be betting on in this game? It's got to be Bills Mafia. Okay, this one just simply means more. On the roads, getting 1.5 points, keep the 1.5. I'll take the ML. It's Josh Allen's year. Total in that game's at 47.5 as well. Jovan, thoughts on these two games on Sunday afternoon?
I might have heard a bell in Kansas City, Krabs.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie to you. I might have heard it. I might have heard it. I don't know. It's not even like a recency bias thing, because watching through that game, the Bills were very lucky that playoff Lamar was playoff Lamar, because they didn't really have to do anything to beat the Ravens in that game, because Lamar and then Mark Andrews in the second half, when they're trying to dig the hole that Lamar dug them in the first place in the first half, they beat themselves in every form and fashion. And the Bills know as well as anybody the Chiefs are not going to be that team to beat themselves in this game. So if they're relying on that, that might be a little tough, especially on the road, where I don't think there's any team that's more prepared and more confident to go into Kansas City after all the times they've fought than the Chiefs, or than the Bills going in to play the Chiefs. But it feels to me like we're getting a rematch of the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, which I'm just hoping turns out very differently.
Well, they've got that Mahomes half an interception square up there on the boards. Completely read it out. Love to see that. They've got his 25.5 rushing yards, which honestly, we know what happens when the lights are bright in the postseason. You see Mahomes turn into Lamar Jackson using his legs. I like that more than 25.5 rushing yards for Mahomes in this game. Any thoughts on any other Chiefs squares?
I don't know that I have too much, Krabs, in that game square-wise yet, outside of the one that I think everybody knows is pretty inevitable, Travis Kelce. Because just when you, granted, even if I bet it, I will be rooting against it pretty heavily, but whenever you want the Chiefs to lose, whenever this is the time where they finally should fall, Kelce spawns with 50 yards and 5 catches in the first 2 drives of the game, especially against the Bills, where, I don't know, I feel like Kelce might have to be their running game, kind of, because as vulnerable as the Bills' rush defense is, I don't know if the Chiefs right now are really built to just be ground and pound as far as like Pacheco, P. Ryan, and just that whole rushing attack with Kareem Hunt too goes. I don't think that's really going to be their identity. I think it's going to be more in the short pass game. So I think Kelce, and even if you have to use Worthy on the short stuff, are going to be pretty big throughout the entire game. So yeah, if I'm betting on the Chiefs, I'm certainly putting units on Kelce.
Not what I expected to hear today. I'll be completely honest. We got Dilly Daggers coming in. Mahomes only has 1 pick in his last 8 playoff games. Yeah, no chance he throws one this weekend. Good call. Bills must be free at Arrowhead. Dead Larry Bird saying, you guys are scaring the heck out of me. You're scaring the heck out of me. We're about to see the same movie we've watched for the last couple seasons, Jovan. That's what it's starting to sound like.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not great. Not great. Allen Head. Okay. Bills ML for the 401k. Drum saying, I don't know, dudes. Chiefs own the Bills. Yeah, they do. Are they going to own them this weekend? I just feel like it's the Bills' year. I'm trusting my gut. I'm sticking with the Bills on the road, only getting 1.5 points.
Love that.
But I've lost coins betting that way a time or two before. Let's talk about this first game. Nando's getting 6 points. I think that line opened up around 4.5 or 5. Now that spreads up to 6. Jovan, nobody's giving us a chance. Everyone thinks Jalen Hurts is leading this team to victory. A.J. Brown, he's going to put the book down. He's going to get 5 catches this weekend, Cash's receptions. Saquon Barkley is going to have 200 yards on the ground. He's already done it twice against the Commanders this season, right? No chance.
I can assure you, Krabs,
commies win this game.
Everybody is giving the Commanders a chance.
They're not.
They absolutely are.
They're not.
I have seen nothing but slander on Jalen Hurts and the way he's played the playoffs the last couple weeks. And anybody who used two eyes, the whole discourse on Twitter over the past week has been how Saquon has bailed the Eagles out of back-to-back games. Jalen Hurts is incapable of moving the ball, and now he's injured, so his legs can't even bail him out. And the Commies are the hot new team, fun story, best quarterback in the NFL. So I can definitely assure you, this is not the time you can play that everybody thinks the Eagles are free card.
I don't care what Twitter's saying or people are saying, the media saying. Commanders are underdogs in this game no matter what.
I know they're underdogs. I'm just saying that you
Not
can't
even by
use
the
the
line.
argument that nobody's giving them a chance.
I don't think people are giving them a chance. Maybe the bet splits show differently. We got the Commanders getting some public splits here on the spread and the ML. Interesting. I'll tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of teasers involving that Philly -6 line. We'll see. Vegas Tom's seeing 6.5 spreads already. Jesus. I don't love that the spread's moving in the Eagles' direction. I'll tell you that much. Especially now with all this public money coming in on the commies already. But
even
look, sometimes
looking at the Green Book splits, Krabs, 58% of bets on the Manders plus 6.5, and 60% of bets are on the ML too. They did ML splits, but that's fat.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot of bets. On Circa, they're getting 93% of bets and 98% of handle. How's that possible?
Yeah, I don't even know.
How's that possible? Godson, you are not the Eagles are not the underdogs. You guys are the 2 seeds, and you have Saquon Barkley, who just debatably almost broke the rushing record in the NFL this season. What are you talking about? You get a top 3 defense in the NFL. You don't think the fucking Commanders are underdogs in the spot on the road?
Yeah, the Commies are absolutely underdogs. They just happen to be a dog that I think a lot of people think is pretty live, which I don't completely disagree. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a competitive game. It's still a divisional game, but as much as I root for the Commanders, it's partially because of you, but I think everybody wants to see them do well. The one asterisk you can take from them, Krabs, is I think by a decent margin, the 2 worst units defensively in the playoffs just happen to be the 2 teams they just played to get here. So as much as, JD5 did well against that Eagles defense, in that game where Pickett was starting, but I think that was a pretty vastly different scenario. So now in Philly, I feel like the defense, this is the time where a rookie quarterback might look like a rookie quarterback just a little bit.
I mean, I don't know how you can say that guy will ever look like a rookie QB ever with the season.
That's why I said a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to go out and have an absolute disaster class, but the 2 games against the Bucs and against the Lions, just flawless football, 100% through. I don't think there's really any mistake you can really point to in either of those games. So, the defenses are quite different between the Eagles and then the Lions and the Bucs. This is the time where at least I think they'll get some pressure on him, which he can use his legs, sure. But the Bucs and Lions, that was their big issue that I took away from that game. Like, the running game was great and gave him a solid crutch, but the Bucs didn't get any pressure on him. The Lions weren't able to for a majority of that game. So when you give him pressure, don't put pressure on him and give that offense all the time in the world to work. He's going to look like prime Brady, which was the problem for both those teams.
Public's all over the commies, huh? Maybe that's a good thing. The way this year's gone, the way this NFL season's gone, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the year of the square continues one more weekend. I just don't know. Maybe I'm biased as a commies fan, but I don't know how you watch JD5 play this season and of late and don't think this team doesn't have a chance. Right?
Well, that's why I don't think anybody is saying that. That's my point.
Yeah. He's got a pick square up as well after not throwing a pick in 3 straight games. That's not ideal.
Not great. And that Cosme injury might hurt too, quite a bit.
The Cosme injury is actually way worse than it seems. That's going to fuck up our whole O-line. He was our anchor. Now we got to move some guys around on that line. I'm a little bit worried about that. It's a good point, Jovan. But what I'm not worried about is Jaden Daniels keeping this game close and keeping his team in it. Because he's shown, already this season in his rookie year, if he's not the best player in the NFL right now, he's one of the best. With a guy like that under center, you get a chance.
Yeah.
222.5 passing yards from JD5. That looks like a very easy more than to click.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
I wouldn't mind his rushing and receiving touchdown demon this weekend. It's been a while since we've had a JD5 rushing tutty.
Especially being that, the Cosme injury is going to force quite a bit of pressure more in the interior and up the middle-ish. So, if Jaden is going to scramble, not that he usually is going up the gut or between the line, but I feel like he's going to be forced outside the pocket pretty early and pretty often. So those legs are going to be moving. And then Cliff is smart enough to know that if that's going to be the case, you're probably going to have to run out and get him on the move and give him that option to run, period.
OG Sauer says De'Ami Brown has looked like Randy Moss these last 2 weeks.
Randy Moss, dude.
Yeah.
He's been goated.
We'll see how long that lasts. Book of Chew coming in hot with a question. Krabs Jovan, do you guys think Dotson's getting his 3.5 receiving yards? I want to take that less than so bad, Chew. But Sirianni is so petty that I wouldn't be shocked if he risks his Super Bowl chances or his opportunity to get there to just feed Dotson the fucking ball against the Commies, his former team. Because that's how petty he is. Wouldn't be shocked. So I will not be looking to fade that square, I guess is my point. Okay? Eagles seem to give up a lot to tight ends. I think Zach Ertz is a good look. I think that's a great point, Vegas Tom. Zach Ertz not coming off his greatest game, but still involved in the offense every week. Maybe he gets going against his former team, revenge angle. Right? We saw him talking a lot of shit to Sirianni after that last game.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, if I'm taking anything Commanders in this game, especially being that you would think that Jaden Daniels is going to be on a lot more pressure, I don't see why we just don't go with what's not broke, so we don't need to fix it. I think it's Eckler in the receiving game again. He's his safety net. And not only safety net, he's not just there when the play breaks down, but they're getting the ball out of his hands quick or whenever they need to. It's just Eckler, and he's there with yards after the catch, and you especially might need that if the receivers have a little more trouble getting open down the field than they did against the Moose Piss, Bucks, and Lions secondaries, which I can only assume is going to be the case.
Good point. Would you go his receiving yards or his receptions?
Maybe it's receptions this game.
So going to push at 3. Fuck. Yep.
Yeah.
I think both are going to cash. I don't know. He's been really fucking tough to tackle this year, man. He's been a bruiser. Maybe it's because we're not using him that much. He's been pretty fresh all year, besides when his brain got rattled around during that pretty bad concussion. But he's been bouncing off of people left and right. He's been really tough to tackle. Maybe it's just his receiving yards.
Yeah.
People need a Champions League play from Jovan, from SVN in chat. You come up with anything over there?
See, the problem is there's a lot of juice on the board today, Krabs. It makes it pretty tough. Pretty tough.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Eckler looked good on the ground, too. He looks better than freaking B-Rob right now.
I don't know. B-Rob he had a couple splash runs against the Lions. So I was pretty surprised.
He did. You're right. He had a much better game than he did in recent weeks. I'll give you that. And he's up for 7.5 receiving yards again after a bagel. Wouldn't be shocked if he gets a little screen.
That's thanks to me. I jinxed his ass, remember?
Yeah, you did do that.
Literally at goal line. I've taken Brian Robertson to score a touchdown the past 5 weeks. Never did it. I sent in the chat. I was like, I'm
after scoring every week.
I'm convinced he's never scoring again. The next play he scores.
Yep.
Shout out.
Good work, Goots. Yep. Appreciate that one. He had 2 actually in that game. Good work. His fantasy score is only at 8 though in this one. Ooh. Could be more of an Eckler game. Okay. Chat, you guys got any more plays, any more questions involving these 2 NFL games this weekend on Sunday, the conference championship matchups, Commies, Eagles, or Bills, Chiefs.
I will say I didn't even want to get involved with. I don't know. Like I'm leaning into the Eagles, obviously. So common knowledge would say this is what I would also square up with the GOAT and go like Saquon. Something gives me bad vibes about Saquon. I feel like the Commanders
really.
I mean, the smart thing obviously would be to make Jalen Hurts throw because you haven't been able to see it the last couple weeks of the playoffs, but nobody's really able to stop Saquon. I have a feeling the Commanders, it might be a Bucky Irving situation. They try to keep him off the field and control the clock for a little bit of the game, and that would concern me a little bit.
Haven't heard anybody talk about the really good job the Commanders did at limiting Bucky Irving in that game. Haven't heard a peep, not one person, not one compliment.
It's just because he kept him off the field. I mean, the Bucks ran 44 plays. I know. I think why you haven't heard about it is because the next game was a little more high paced where you couldn't do that, and Gibbs tore them to shreds. So that was probably why.
Yeah, he did. He tore us up. No doubt. If I'm the Commies, I'm stacking the box and I'm making Jalen Hurts beat you through the air and making him find his toxic ass receivers who just do the weirdest shit during the games and the post game pressers. It's probably A.J. Brown more than receptions in this game, to be honest with you. And it's an extremely Reddit out chart. I was already looking at that. That's probably a pretty darn good look. Make Jalen Hurts beat you through the air. Jonathan Allen, earn your paycheck. All right, you got that C on your jersey for a fucking reason. Stop the run. Do your job. Limit Saquon. It could be done on the inside. When he gets to the outside, that's a whole different ball game. We're going to need Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner off 10 energy drinks if they want to keep up with Saquon on the edge. It's not going to be easy.
You need them locked, dude.
It's not going to be easy. Jalen Hurts through the air has looked like horseshit. Yeah, he has. I agree. He's only had his safety net Saquon to carry him up to this point.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can carry him one more time.
You know what I think will be good if this ends up popping up, which it just might because they've been doing this with a lot of squares. I need some more weird Eagles, like low numbers guys to be up like game time. This would be a perfect time for like a Kenneth Gainwell, like super low receiving yards to pop up. It's not up yet, but just might. Even like Calcaterra, even though he's on pop tab just because the chart is green and wrong and doesn't include, I don't think, the last game. He's up to 2.5 after a bagel, which is probably pretty important, even though the chart wouldn't look like it because it's excluded. So those guys with like super low lines, when you probably think Hurts is going to be passing more because they're going to sell out on the run, it's probably that time.
I was square. I like
Goodsy. You get a POD square. Let's hear it.
If we get this Jalen Hurts passing, Saquon's a little more limited. I mean, A.J. Brown was terrible last week. Awful. He dropped like 2 passes. I don't think he's locked in at all. So I like Devontae Smith. 47.5. I think he gets 50.
Could be the difference.
You've probably heard this. You probably heard me say this at some point on BTL or just us talking. And maybe it's just engraved in your brain, but Devonta Smith owns the Commanders.
Yeah, that too.
He owns them.
All-time Commanders mucker.
Not even really this season. Like, he didn't really do it this season, but he's had some really good games of late. In the second half of the year, I would not be shocked one bit if it's Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown. I think both those guys are pretty darn good looks this weekend. Make Jalen Hurts beat you through the air. Do whatever you can to slow down Saquon. If that means putting the Hall of Famer and Frankie, both guys, watching them like a fucking hawk in that game, you got to do what you got to do. Make Hurts beat you through the air. It's the only chance we got. I like that as well, Goots. What would you take for him? His receptions or his receiving yards?
I'd take his yards. He got that big playability. I want that tight end.
Probably not going to have Marshawn Lattimore on him as much.
Yeah.
Probably his yards, especially if he's got St. Juice covering him. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
He's going to get that one catch. Man. Yo, dogs, my bro Chode wants some plays for today. Okay, Soup, grab up. Unless it's Chode Figgins, he's not getting any plays. Or Javon's Chode fan.
Yeah,
RIP
people
the
sleep.
Chode.
I am in that room.
Are the fans up there?
Yeah, they're up here.
Shut the fuck up. No way they've been there the whole time.
Whole time, dude. Literally whole time.
They've been there the entire time, and you just want to mention that now?
Yeah.
Double Chode fans?
Yeah. It's a little different of an angle that I have to be here now, so you can't fully see it.
You can't see them. Insane that you're gatekeeping the Chode fans at the Solid. Unbelievable. Only the OGs remember. Okay. No wonder why the squad rides have been hitting. We got the double Chode fan system. You talk about the double bagel system on Prize Picks?
Yeah, double Chode fan.
Unbelievable. Okay. Anyways, we'll probably move on, talk about some more winners for today. Enough talking about the conference championship lines. And chat, we will put out a BTL exclusive for this weekend, probably on Friday, talking a little bit more about these NFL games for Sunday. Okay, so stay posted for the YouTube, Bookit Sports. Turn those notifs on. Make sure you're subbed up. We're almost at 10K subbies as well. We're going to post something this weekend on there, BTL exclusive, going over these games in depth, going over Prize Pick squares, our best bets, you name it, we're talking about it. All right? So keep an eye out for that puppy. Also, make sure you get your Bookit hats. Okay, they're selling fast. Make sure you get your Bookit hats before they sell out. They sold out really fast the first time. Inventories are getting low. So get involved, buy a Bookit hat, support the squads. We got a couple different colorways, not just this one right here. A bunch of different fresh colors. We got the link in the chat as well, W Gucci. If you guys haven't copped your hat yet, what are you doing? Do it now before you forget. Get involved. Get involved. I wanted to do something with Julius Pork and his threes hitting tonight. And if it doesn't hit, I'll buy someone in chat a hat. And if it does hit, somebody in chat has to buy a hat. Anybody want to take on that deal?
You should do it with Trent. Make him give away a hat.
Ooh,
if he hits his threes.
Trent. How about if Pork goes more than his threes, you got to buy someone a Bookit hat. And if he goes less than his threes, I got to buy someone a Bookit hat. An OG in the chat. You take me up on that offer, Trent? Let me know. He says he can't stand Pork. I mean, yeah, he's been so terrible. He's cost us so many coins. I don't blame you one bit for hating his guts.
Yeah. I haven't seen his points get bumped up in a while, even through this cold streak, though, Krabs. And you're getting some movement today.
You're getting some bumpage. Yeah, I'm with you. Huh. All right, well, since we're talking about the NBA, let's stick with the NBA today and talk about some of these games. We do have a game postponed tonight in New Orleans because of the snow. Who thought we would be ever saying those words? This chart has looked like this since I was in the Bahamas. I mean, literally, Trent, yeah. He just sucks. At this point, it's just like the Herbert interception square in the middle of the season when they're just taking the bait. But a lot of good games in the NBA today, Jovan. I'm excited to talk about some of these ones with you. Any thoughts on Detroit, Atlanta? Two teams above 500 right now, playing okay. Looks like the Hawks are laying 2.5, 3. Depends on what book you're looking at.
Yeah, I don't really want to go fading the Pistons at all. I know they slipped up. They had a couple of games. I forget which game the first one was, but the second one was that one in the Suns or against Phoenix where everybody took them and everybody liked them and they're kind of in rat. But other than that, they've been really, really good. And this is a matchup where, I mean, it's young star versus young star, two guys who should be all stars. I don't know what the voting's going to be looking like. And it's going to be a tough one-on-one battle that I think Cade just might win and put up legacy numbers like all of Twitter is hoping for him to do because he's one of the guys that every lotto slip for him to have a triple-double. He's one of those guys today. But I don't know that I want to go fading him, Krabs, especially with the Hawks coming off kind of a deflating loss against their new rival over there in New York. I don't really know what to make of this game.
It's probably the Hawks, in my opinion, but am I looking to play it? No. The Hawks have had Detroit's number in recent matchups, but Detroit did beat them the last time they played. But before that, Atlanta ripped off 4 straight wins. I'd probably lean Atlanta here at home. I don't really think it's a line play, but coming off that bad loss, I'd probably play them. Just a lean, though.
Fair.
Anything in Phoenix and Brooklyn?
No.
KD returning to Brooklyn if he's even playing tonight?
Yeah, can't say I have too much. Nets have actually sneakily been playing tough when they're big favorites or big dogs, at least as of late, and including the last one against the Knicks that they probably should have won outright if it wasn't for some mismanagement at the end. So don't want to back them again after that. It's kind of tough too, but yeah, I assume this is the game once again, just like everybody did last time, where Nick Richards is popular Twitter POD. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. All right. What about Minnesota laying 3.5 points on the road in Dallas?
It's pretty interesting, Krabs.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting, I would say.
What, Minnesota catching steam on the road, coming off of back-to-back losses?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, those games too. I mean, were in the palm of their hands. Both that Grizzlies game and that Cavs game. They really, I mean, just collapsed at the end for the most part in both those games. Like I know that the Mavs have been pretty terrible too, and a lot of that's because they've been banged up. But I don't know. I don't assume many people want to take the Mavs while their injury issues in the lineup they're going to be trotting out there today. But unless it's drastically different than it was expected to be when the line first dropped, still seems like a good bit of respect for Minnesota.
Yeah, a ton of injuries on Dallas's sides. Luka still out. Klay Thompson probably going to be out in this game as well. They're saying he's iffy. He's only played a handful of games for Dallas so far this season. Yeah, they got a laundry list, a CVS receipt of injuries today. So maybe that kind of cancels out Minnesota catching steam for me.
Yeah,
with all those injuries, but still probably leave Minnesota as a side. What about Utah and OKC? OKC laying a big old number against the Jazz, who have been terrible this season, 10-31.
Just awful program down there in Utah.
Terrible. Anything?
I was waiting to see what that message from Trent was, if it was about OKC or not. But I definitely lean OKC's way. We just had the Jazz had a little like back-to-back set with the Pelicans where, I mean, they trotted out two decently different lineups and came back healthier in that second game, and they made it significantly closer and covered that plus 11 number. That was the same exact one they had in the first game. So now you're getting a big game or big line against OKC again, rightfully so. I'm not so sure if Jalen Williams, the good one, is going to be active today. So there's a chance that's not the case. And if that happens to be the case, it's probably just going to be an SGA takeover, which would be great because I think the Thunder probably need one of those big performances because they kind of had this, I don't want to say sleepwalk because they drilled the Nets as they should have, but it's another like sandwich spot game that they have after, losing to the Mavs, which is kind of a big emotional spot even without SGA. So I feel like they're going to be rolling until they play another big team to kind of show that. So this might just be another speed bump in the way.
Yep. I can see it. I'm not betting that game though. No fucking chance.
Yeah.
Charlotte, Memphis. Grizzlies laying 12. Total in that game is really high, up 5 points as well, up to 240.5.
Really high. I would not mind that over, Krabs.
Really high.
So the thing is, like, I think the Grizzlies are still going to give up points to the Hornets. Don't get me wrong, but the Hornets, I mean, they just had really, if we're talking about their full body of work, a decent stretch of ball. I mean, they've won outright as 4.5 to 5 point dogs for 3 of their last 5 games against the Suns, the Bulls, and the Mavs. And that Mavs game on that had Rav splooging on MLK Day, I believe, on Monday. I mean, they were fantastic in. I know they're playing a super short-handed Mavs team, but it was an impressive performance nonetheless. So, like, seeing 12 and a half against the Grizzlies, even though they are on the road, seems extremely enticing. And I don't think there's a way that the Grizz are going to really take control of this game on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to have to be with their offense. So the total is really high, probably for a reason. I'd probably lean into that, if anything.
Okay. I could see that. LaMelo points are all reds. I'm seeing in the chat. Do you think it could be a LaMelo game?
Yeah, whenever it's one of these like star point guards going up against another, which in this situation it's LaMelo or Ja, could never really say anything against it because they're going to be super aggressive, and it's happened time after time after time.
I'm not betting that game, but I'm interested in LaMelo's points for the Hornets here with that high total.
28.
He's also got a 3-point square as well. Yep. All right, what about Cleveland, Houston? Houston caught my eye earlier today, only getting 2.5 points against the big and bad Cavs. Thought that was a little bit weird. I know there's still some injury concerns with the Cavs. You got Karis LeVert, game time. You got Mobley, probably still out. But Houston still 2.5 points, I felt like was not enough. Thought that was kind of telling. Are you down to deploy on Houston today at home against the Cavs?
I don't think so. I don't know. It's still the Rockets at home. That always gets a lot of respect. I mean, rightfully so, because they've been fantastic at home against a Cavs team that is still without Mobley. Might be a little too much good news and good situation for me to buy.
Okay.
But I can see where you're coming from.
All right. The Cavs just win as well. I'm not really in a rush to fade them. Just thought that line was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Anything in the Warriors and the Kings game tonight? That totals up as well. About 3 points.
Yeah. Another relatively high total, I would say. But I don't know if I have anything in that game. It's kind of been the skeleton of the Warriors team for a little bit. So I wouldn't be down or would be down to take some of the role players in that game. And I guess doesn't necessarily qualify as that, but everybody and their mother's on Andrew Wiggins today on Twitter. We'll see how that pans out, but I can't really say anything bad about that play.
Buddy Hield is up there on the board for 10.5 points.
Yeah.
They got Schroeder up there with no profile pick with a very high number for his points. Okay. Moses Moody up and moving. He's low-key been pretty good of late.
The GOAT.
What about Trace Jackson Davis? He's up for 9.5 points. I need your eyes on that square.
Yeah.
Need your eyes on that square.
Yeah, I see it. I see it, Krabs.
What's good with that?
I don't know.
Because that looks to me like Trace Jackson Davis is getting 10 points against Sabonis tonight.
Just might be. I mean, it's definitely red because of injury situations, but it's still a little high. And the offerings, not just that one, but across the board, are pretty interesting.
I wouldn't mind a little Trace Jackson Davis love. That kid's a baller. Would you want to incorporate his rebounds at all, or would you just go as points?
Probably just goes points.
Okay. All right. And then we got one more late night game, Celtics Clippers. Looks like the C's are up to -11. Clippers have been playing some good ball of late, but they're coming in off a loss, and they've got some injury concerns for this game as well. Looks like James Harden is iffy against Boston. Whenever I see iffy, I feel like typically these guys don't end up playing. Chris Dunn also iffy as well.
Zubac
and Norman Powell
are out for sure, I think.
Yeah, Norman Powell questionable. Kawhi's out. PJ Tucker's out. Zubac's out. All those guys are out. That's probably why we're seeing this line moving all the way up to -11 for the Celtics in this spot. Are there any role players to take on the Clippers in this one?
It's a great question. I haven't looked at the Clipper squares if they're fully out yet. I guess they still have like James Harden up there because he's not for sure not playing, and same with Chris Dunn. So
yep.
I don't really know. Really, it's only those two guys and Norm Powell that are up. So I have
all the injured guys.
Yeah, one of them is probably sitting at the very least. So I don't really know what to do with that.
Okay. What about the Celtic squares? Jaylen Brown's got a pretty redded out point square.
Yeah, he's a popular one today. I wouldn't hate that. He's getting bumped up a little bit. I guess the blowout's the concern. I guess for a lot of the Celtic squares, Celtics specifically, because they have so many guys. It's hard to really fixate on one, especially if the game ends up getting out of hand.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything too crazy up for the Celtics.
Could fade Porzingis points.
I don't know if I want to fade Porzingis points, Krabs.
Going against Mo Bamba in the paint tonight.
Thing is, he doesn't have to do it in the paint, which is the problem. I know it's green, but
Chad's talking about Peyton Pritchard. They don't have his squares up, which sucks, but
yeah.
Off topic, but would love a segment soon about the 2025 Heisman odds. No needs. Jovan's already locked in the winner. Plus 5,000.
Brennan Sorsby, GOAT.
Sure. Huh. All right. Maybe I just lock in a 3-piece then here with Julius Pork Randall more than 1.5 threes, LaMelo Ball more than points, and Trace Jackson Davis more than points. Not loving these Celtic squares. Not many options for the Clippers as well.
Yeah.
I think I might lock in
Fair
that
enough.
3-piece. Little 5Xer. LaMelo, Trace Jackson Davis, and Julius Pork. Threes.
Julius Pork. He could include potential double bagel of hurt. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Well, it's too late.
Jeez.
It's too late for that.
I'm sure he'll have more lineups anyway.
The lineup has been locked, but yeah, I'll keep that back pocket as well, that square. Pork threes instead of points, eh? Yep. Just going right for the jugular. Going for the threes. I don't even want the points. I just want the threes. Okay? Krabs, why hasn't there been Twitter bitching or Steam Krabs about the Dodgers yet? Because I think that's kind of weak to be bitching about that when it's really, the reality is it's the other teams that probably should be stepping up and making some more moves. I don't think it's just all the Dodgers' fault. I think it's some of the other teams' faults as well, not making any moves or spending any coins. Like the Nats.
Yeah, you're not wrong to a degree. I think that argument had a lot more legs before the last couple moves they made, when there's guys who are signing with the Dodgers for a lot less money than other teams offered. So, I mean, that was true for Ohtani and Soto, I guess, that they chased the biggest bag, but a lot of these other guys are getting discounts to go to the Dodgers. So that it's kind of evaporating.
They want to win. I don't blame them, to be honest with you. If I was in that spot, I probably want to do the same thing. I think players are soft now and they want the easier roads. I think they want to win World Series, and I think that's the best option they got. So I don't blame them for going there. It's their choice. Does it ruin the sport? Yeah, it definitely fucks up the sport a little bit, for sure. But it's still the Dodgers. They'll probably find a way to fuck it up somehow, some way. They're not going to win it every year, right?
Gunnar Henderson slurping chat, man.
Only one man can save the league. Gunnar Henderson.
Sure. Only one man can save the KBO. That could be Gunnar Henderson.
Gunnar Henderson MVP?
He's high up there in odds for that award.
He's up there, Goots. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be up there.
He's up there, Gootsy.
You're
not wrong. You're not wrong. All right. Let's talk about some college basketball. Enough NBA, enough MLB. Let's talk about something that matters for today. Let's talk about some CBB. And we got the Hokies on the road at Georgia Tech. Jovan, you taking the points with VT? Are you fading them and taking Georgia Tech?
I don't know. What's your pulse on the boys today, Krabs?
Hokies have been playing much better of late. I know they didn't beat Wake, but they kept it competitive against a pretty good Wake team. Georgia Tech has been spiraling out of control. They've been ass cheeks right now. I'd say it's probably Georgia Tech in the spot looking at the line, to be honest with you. As a crabby, contrarian, nasty play, Georgia Tech probably shouldn't be laying 4.5, 5.5 to anybody in this economy in the Big 2-5, and they are today against my Hokies. So it's probably Georgia Tech. That's a pretty good ML parlay piece as well.
Yeah, can count that for sure.
Yep. All right, what about Utah and Houston? I've heard a lot of people asking about Houston today, Jovan, and I know you've kind of, you cap Houston, I feel like, more often than most. You got any thoughts on this game? 7th-ranked Houston, the Cougs on fire right now at home, welcoming in Utah, who's turned their season around as well with 3 straight wins.
Yeah, I sneaky kind of think Utah has found something. Not that I think it'll last necessarily, but thing is, like, Houston, I mean, they're coming off a game that they probably should have lost against UCF. So, like, in theory, it should be somewhat of a bounce back spot. The only like hesitation I have with betting them is the fact that they want to make teams shoot over the top of them and make that be the way that you beat them, which doesn't work for a lot of teams because then it's just teams that eliminate the rim pretty much. That's kind of how Utah's won like the last 3 games is Gabe Madsen just chucking, Mike Sharonvance just chucking. Like that's kind of what they're built on, and they can do it by spreading the floor a little bit too, and even the bigs will get involved. So I don't know. Not that I think they're going to go out there and drop like 70 points on Houston necessarily, but it's kind of tough to completely eliminate them and think they're going to get thrashed as much as they did against some other teams. So I'm a little more weak on Houston. I don't know. I'm not betting it, obviously, but I don't know.
Jovan, you getting worried at all about that total in the Cal game dropping down to 150?
Let me get some
Trent's
eyes on
asking in
that.
chat.
I mean, no, obviously, but riding at any number. That's what it opened at. I think it opened lower. It opened like 149.
Yeah, 149.5. I'm seeing.
Yeah.
What did the total get up to in this
Like
game?
152.
What did you have it at earlier? 152?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same thing, ironically, that happened to the Iowa State total yesterday. Like 2 hours before the game, it got bumped down like 2.5 points. I was like, shit, might be cooked. And then Iowa State scores 110 points.
Still hit, yeah. Okay. Well, that should make you feel a little bit better about it, Trent. Syracuse plus 15.5. No, not today. Not today. Can't be done. Let's look at some of these other games. Any thoughts on Syracuse and Clemson? I guess we could talk about that game now since it is up. 15.5 points they're giving Syracuse. That's a big old number. Clemson's been on fire of late. They've ripped off 3 straight wins. Do you think they roll in this spot against Syracuse?
You know I do, Krabs, because you want to talk about one of the biggest mismatches you'll probably see on the court between big men for the entirety of the ACC season. Ian Shefflin against Eddie Lampkin. Have fun. He's going to get bludgeoned in the paint. Whether
No
if
bias
it's just
whatsoever in that one. Nope.
No, I mean I have eyes too. I've just like I've had people even tell me that don't even know how I feel about him. They just know that he used to play for TCU and tell me that he is just absolutely awful. And they've watched him in some of these games. He's just immobile as far as defense goes, and he can do whatever he wants on the offensive end sometimes when he just decides he wants to be pork and be super aggressive. But he's a traffic cone, dude. So for any like somewhat physical big that's also going to put the ball down on the floor, he's been getting cooked. So like Ian Shefflin is going to do that. He's going to take him out to the point and just put him in a blender.
Should we take a peep at some of these Shefflin squares, maybe?
Yeah, I would absolutely be down for some Shefflin. The Eddie squares are also pretty funny too. I figure that's probably more in your lane, looking at Eddie squares, Krabs. So I also think there's definitely potential that he is in foul trouble pretty quick. Not that you need that for him to go less than a squares, but those are the greenest squares I've ever seen.
Okay. They're extremely green. I'm looking at them right now as we speak. Probably just want to take his less than PRA and just get the biggest number possible.
Yeah.
I'm taking that square. I also want to take Shefflin, though.
Yeah, I'm down to take Shefflin. Probably for the same reasons. Or same.
Would you take his more than PRA? Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, they like to bring him out to the top of the key and let him facilitate too. So I don't think he'll just be banging in the post with Eddie for the entirety of the game. He'll take Eddie out of the paint and he can facilitate too. He's a willing passer.
Okay. Yeah, I like both those squares a lot. All right, let's keep moving here. Looks like Aaron Glenn is going to the Jets. Wonder what Mikey thinks of that. Could be better, could be worse. Okay. All right, there we go. W. Mike. St. Thomas coming back home to play against Nebraska. He will be out of control all night. I think over 2.5 turnovers might be the play. I mean, that's sharp. Old man All-American, I'll tell you that much. St. Thomas coming off a legacy game as well. We backed him, I believe. Maybe that was 2 games ago.
Yeah,
maybe it's St. Thomas more than TOs.
Just might be. Especially when he's trying to feed Ogbo 3 for every single possession. Which would be huge. Flatwoods, 5 gifted, my guy.
Go Flatwoods.
GOAT.
Attaboy, 5 subbies coming in from Flatwoods fella, the GOAT. We appreciate you, Beast.
While we are talking about turnover squares. I can't let it go just unswept. The first TCU square, I was curious for what they would put up in this game. The first one I saw was Vashon Alette, 2.5 turnovers after maybe the worst game of facilitating I had ever seen, even though they won the game. He had 9. That was absolutely insane. That performance I watched from him in that Baylor game.
9 turnovers, bro.
Just printing turnovers.
So you want to take his less than today, huh?
Yeah, I might have to. Figured, I mean, if TCU is going to stay in that game, the only way they can do it is by probably slowing the ball down. And it's probably going to be a little bit more of Noah Reynolds facilitating and playing point guard more than Vashon Alette. So, I mean, it makes sense, I would think, but it's a crazy square.
Well, speaking of Noah Reynolds, and hear me out, this might be too crazy. But we already got that Lampkin square and that Shefflin square from that Syracuse-Clemson game. What if we took a 2-piece from the TCU game as well? And we took Alette less than 2.5 turnovers after that 9 turnover performance. And what if we took Noah Reynolds more than points and assists, 16.5? You said if they cover this game, only chance they have is if Noah Reynolds goes off. You said he might be more facilitator as well at times in this game instead of Alette. I feel like we got to take his more than PA.
Yeah, you've got me. I'm on that. So in on that. Especially
That's
with
a 4-piece that I could get behind.
I feel like Uday is not just because he's coming off a legacy game, but he's coming off a legacy game, and also it's his return against Kansas. You would think, not that it's his first, but you would think that everything kind of lines up to be way too easy for that. I think he's going to be a big force on defense more so than on offense. They're going to try to take Dickinson out of the paint. So everything does kind of scream Noah Reynolds.
Less than PRA. And I just dropped the link to that lineup in the chat as well. Okay. If you guys want to get involved on that 4-man in CBB, the link is in the Twitch chats. All right. Let's keep moving and grooving here, talking about some more of these CBB games. Let's talk about Indiana and Northwestern. You know, Northwestern laying 5, 6 in this spot. I like them. Thought they're a pretty good parlay piece as well today. I don't know if I'll get to the counter, but, you know, Indiana on the road is certainly fadeable. Mike Woodson is certainly a fadeable coach coming off a big-time win, and Northwestern losing 4 of their last 5. Laying this number, thought that stuck out a little bit and thought about maybe wanting to back Martinelli on Prize Picks or back in Northwestern in some capacity on the books.
Yeah, Northwestern's a team, I guess, that has a pretty good counter lineup-wise to the bigs. I know that Indiana's a little shorthanded right now in that area, but still, I mean, the size they have, a couple of different guys kind of counteracts what Indiana can throw at them. So I don't hate that. I do think it's a little bit of respect on the line, 100%. So I'm with you on that.
And Martinelli, I saw something the other day. He plays the most minutes out of anybody in the conference. The veteran, he's always in the game. He even played back-to-back full games as well. The dude's out there the entire fucking time. I wouldn't mind backing him, as square as it might be. His PRA on Prize Picks. It's got over 500 tails today. It's relatively green, but if Northwestern wants to win this game or even cover, it's got to be Martinelli. And he's probably going to be out there playing the entire game.
Yeah. Don't have any problems with that. 100%.
We've got a 1.5 assist square up there after he's coming off a bagel. And he's not hit that in 2 of his last 3. So maybe it's just PRA for Martinelli. Dude's everywhere.
But are they goated?
All right. Averages most points per game in the Big Ten, too. There you go, Delgado. Dropping some good nugs. Malik Renault might be back tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I was hearing rumors about that. But again, I mean, one of the couple teams in the Big 12 or the Big 10, that runs multiple bigs that could actually hang with that in the paint is Northwestern.
Okay. Somebody in chat asked about my thoughts on the Miami-Stanford game. I'll give you my thoughts on that game. Please do not fucking bet on Miami on the books. Just let them splooge. If they win, they win. If they cover, they cover. But it's not worth your time. This team is that bad.
Krabs.
That might be the worst game in the history of college basketball.
What if this is Ohio State Purdue, though?
No, it's not.
It might be, dude.
Because Miami's actually no shit. And Miguel in chat is asking to see the sharp report. It is going across the bottom ticker. If you do want to see our plays, it is scrolling across that bottom bar on the screen. Okay. Yeah, I can't do it. I think Miami, we got to keep them off to the sides.
I might have to do it one more time.
No, we got to keep them off to the side, dude. Miami sucks.
Dude, Krabs. Maybe one more time.
You got Larinaga quitting on the team mid-season. Would have never expected that one.
We got Stanford going cross-country, getting outright wins in the Dean Dome, Krabs. Now they're coming back to the West Coast to play Miami.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a half unit geyser or something. But I might have to do it.
I can't do it.
I might have to do it. One time. Last time.
Restraint from Krabs. Yep.
Last chance. I'll do it.
Last chance you. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're solo on that one.
You won't hear the Canes from me one more time if they don't cover this game.
Yeah, Flatwoods. Jovan's taking Miami. If you couldn't pick up on that one yet. He's taking Miami. Looks like Ludwig Oberg is already -4 through 5 today. He might be him.
He might be greatest golfer of the century.
He might be him. Sheesh. All right. Let's keep moving and grooving here. Let's look at some of these late night CBB games because there are some solid ones. I want to make sure we spend some time talking about some of these good games and matchups. Georgia, Arkansas. We got to do it. I guess I can't take Miami, but I can take Arkansas, who's 0-5 in conference play.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same thing.
I can take Arkansas. It's the same exact
you
thing.
You get your Arkansas, Miami. I get my Miami.
I'm taking Arkansas.
I might be fading.
Who knows it? No way you're fading that, Goose.
I fucking hate Arkansas.
I mean, they're terrible.
They are a moose shit program. Calipari is a terrible coach. I can't get over it.
It's funny. I saw they're doing a documentary on Kyle Perry this year.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I won't be
following
watching
him around
that
this season. First year in
That's
Arkansas.
That's going to be a quail meat documentary.
Yep. All right, give me Arkansas. Sorry, Goots. Any thoughts on Texas A&M Ole Miss? You got Sean Padula and co. coming off a loss, laying 3 at home against Buzz and the Aggies.
Yeah, I don't hate Ole Miss. I don't really know what to make of Texas A&M right now. That's what makes it difficult because Ole Miss, I think, is a little more up and down, but Wade Taylor back in the fold. He just had a terrible game, even though they won against LSU in their last one. Maybe he comes back and is a little better. He's for sure going to be cooking Sean Padula every single time he gets a chance. But I don't know if I can lean into the Aggies on the road.
I think Ole Miss is just that unfadable team. They come through and win more often than not. They don't get line respect. They've cost the sharp better coins so far this season.
Yeah.
All right. There was one other game I wanted to bring up before we get to the squad right here. Chad, I do love Boise late night against Colorado State. I want to make sure that one gets through to you. Okay. Anything else like USC, Nebraska? You got anything in that game? Nebraska coming in off of 4 straight L's. They're laying a fat number against the Trojans, who've had some solid wins and performances in recent weeks.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing that I said with Iowa and not probably cloud my judgment when that happened because I leaned into Owen Freeman because I thought that was the best matchup on the floor for Iowa, but it kind of him being the best matchup takes them out of everything they want because they want to shoot threes. USC in this game is the exact opposite. They're playing a team that's going to let them do nothing but shoot, but Agbo is really the only guy on the court that would scare you if that's the case. So I think it's great for him. Probably not good for the entire team in USC. So I definitely lean Nebraska's way.
Okay. So do I, laying that number after 4 straight L's. Nebraska could be a good parlay piece like we were talking about earlier. What was the team we were talking about earlier that was laying a number similar to that at home that I was saying was a good parlay piece? Do you remember? Oh, Northwestern.
Oh, yeah. I think there's one before that maybe.
There might have been. There might have been another one. Well, I'll tell you what, I certainly wouldn't mind a 2-piece with those 2 teams, though. That's for sure.
Wouldn't hate that at all.
Ooh, UMass against G-Dub. I'll tell you what, G-Dub got off to a great start this season. They got former Hokie legend Buchanan. They got a solid program they're building down there in D.C. but they're coming off of back-to-back losses, and they're playing UMass, who's on fuego right now. And UMass also owns them in the A10. They've beaten them 4 of the last 5 times. But we're seeing G-Dub catch a little bit of steam here on the road, moving from +2 to +1. I'd probably lean G-Dub on the road here, Gootsy. A little contrarian play, fading UMass, who's had their number in recent years.
Yeah.
And yes, Mook, it was Georgia Tech. That's a good parlay piece tonight as well. Great call against my Hokies.
Yeah,
Yep.
There you go.
That's what it was. All right. Any other college basketball nugs, Jovan, before we move on to the squad rides?
I do see some rumblings in chat about Utah State. I was looking at that game. I mean, the Utah State hasn't covered a game in 2 weeks, but they've been winning. I feel like this is the time where they finally unlock it all because, I mean, this is probably the best they've matched up with a Nevada team in a handful of years. I mean, the games are always close for the most part. When they're better than them, or when Nevada's better than them, they give them a lot of trouble. Feels like it has to be the time. They put together a complete game.
It might have to be. And they're coming off a loss, actually, for the first time in a minute.
For the first time in ages in that upset, which was crazy. Crazy
Nevada
game.
coming in off of 3 straight wins. And if you've watched any Nevada games this year, you'll know that they've taken a step back.
Huge
without
step
some
back.
goats like Lucas and Blackshear. Their team is just not very good. Yeah, I like Utah State. Could be another good parlay piece as well. And the line's moving towards them. Sure.
Yep.
All right. W's. Hope that helped, chat, with your college basketball bets that you're trying to lock in for today. All right. And we sent some prize picks lineups as well. Let's go ahead and lock in and get our most important part of the day started. Let's get that squad ride moving. Gootsy, run that shit. I want to see that damn train. All right, chat. Squad rides, knock on wood, starting to heat up right now, 6 and 7 on the year. All right, after an abysmal start. Let's lock in today, quality over quantity. Let's find our best potential options for straight bet dubs. All right, Jovan, I don't see a world where Xavier and Boise aren't involved in this poll. I'll be completely frank.
Get them involved. Gladly.
I love TCU as well, I'll be honest, but we'll come back to that.
I mean, if you love them, I don't want to be the one to tell you no, Krabs. I will gladly join you. Gladly join you.
What about some of your plays? I'm looking at Evansville. I think that's a great play. Baylor team total is a really good look as well. And that Florida State Cal over, I love the sell job. Worry me a little bit about the total dropping. So wouldn't mind maybe keeping that one out.
That's
After
fair.
we got lucky, but we cashed in a very similar situation yesterday. Maybe we don't press our luck and we move on from that total, at least for now.
I can get down with that. But, I mean, I like all the plays.
Do you have a preference between Baylor and Evansville?
Yeah, I might like Baylor a little more. It's more my realm in the Big 12 than out there with Evansville.
We'll put Baylor team total in that pup?
Yeah.
I want to put your frogs in here as well. I don't know if chat's going to vote for him, but that's a winner. I love my straight bets.
Down to ride.
Love the straight bets today.
This does feel like such a dialed-in Krabs day, I do have to say. I'm just looking at the card. This feels vintage.
I love my 3 straight bets today. Love Xavier, love TCU, and love the Broncos flipping from a dog to a fave on the road against Colorado State tonight. All right. Before we fire up the poll with these 4 plays and 4 winners, I want to emphasize what Flatwood's fellas saying in chat right now. Vote. Go out there and vote. Exercise your right. All right. We got over 400 people in this puppy right now. There should be at least 200 people voting, if not more. Okay. No reason not to get involved in the squad ride poll. It is about to pop up on the Twitch chat right now. 4 plays, 4 winners. We've got Xavier plus 7.5, Boise State ML as a short fave, Baylor team total over 77.5, and TCU plus 6.5. 4 plays, 4 winners. All CBB. That ain't no problem.
Ain't no problem at all.
No problem. Lock in your votes, chat. Get involved, please. Change a life. Click the right button. The best sell job you heard today. The winning play you heard today, click the button. It's that simple. It's that simple. Okay? Jovan, any other parting words here as we get these final votes in for the squad ride? Looking like the chat wants Baylor.
Really?
Yeah, early lead here for the Baylor Bears. Sure.
It's an interesting vote.
Can't wait until I see the Nationals ML again as an option. Billy the Kid saying, sure.
I can't wait till we have A's team total back up there and moving, man. Sweating out Rooker Bonds in Sacramento. It's going to be cinema.
Sure. Lock those votes in, like Flatwoods fellas saying in the chat. Lock those votes in. Hurry up, go, go, go. Cannot wait to fade Aaron Judge in the big 2-5. We're going to have one heck of an MLB season coming up here, gents. Stoked.
Fading Aaron Judge.
Stoked.
We got that first lineup yet or no?
What, involving Judge on his less than home runs? Not yet. Got to let it come to me. When it's right, I'll know. But soon.
Yeah, fair.
Soon. Okay. OKC plays Dallas tomorrow, by the way, so I'm sure this game against the Jazz could mean less. Yeah, the Jazz probably somehow cover that game. They lose by 15. Yep. I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it. We got a close poll here. Looks like Boise squeaking out Baylor team total over right now. It's going to go down to the wire. Who's it going to be? And it's going to be the Broncos, I believe. Would you look at that?
Broncos.
I love that play tonight, chat. W play, W votes. We got the Boise State Broncos on the road as favorites. Let's cash tonight big time. All right, W play, W stream today. Jovan, great work. Gucci, great shit today on the back end. Chat, we appreciate you guys. W subbies, W stream. Stick around for the third stream starting up right after this. Okay, make sure you cop your Bookit hats on the site as well. We'll drop the link one more time for you guys. We'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll be. Peace.